It's the Esoteric Eric Roberts podcast. We're back in 2021 with a film called The Rebels of P.T. 218. I'm here with my rebel friend, Roy.
Hello.
Roy, how's your day?
Oh, it's pretty good. How's your day?
I'm a little delirious right now from lack of sleep, but I'm making it.
Nice. That's very good for you. I read that as you age, lack of sleep is better and better for you.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, I know old timers don't sleep as much as young timers.
They sleep like 20 minutes a day. If you ever meet a guy who's like 90.
I talked to a mother recently who has a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and she said they sleep 13 hours a night.
What idiots.
Yeah. But I guess that's standard for kids that age. It blew my mind. I don't remember sleeping that long.
I don't remember it at all.
Yeah, especially the sleep part.
Yeah, you're right.
So in the last episode, I wanted to do a little callback here, Roy, to Christmas in Compton, because
I'm glad you do.
I brought up an important item. We were talking about Omar Gooding's goatee and how uncanny it was and unsettling it looked. And I knew that he had a twin out there. And I was thinking about John Travolta's goatee that he had for a short period of time, probably of 10, 12 years ago. And yes, Travolta and Omar Gooding were goatee twins for a brief period of time.
I forgot things too from Christmas in Compton. I forgot to mention that David Rayner was an actor in Project X.
Oh, wow.
And that not the newer Project X, but the 80s Project X. And that Keith David was, of course, in Final Analysis.
Oh, also, that's right.
Also, we were talking about the PSA at the end, how annoying that was, and how I was annoyed by the one from Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Yes.
There was an even more annoying Terry Gilliam one, which was the one he did. He recorded that intro for Tideland. Remember that, where he talked about how critics didn't like it, and then explained his movie, and then told you pretty much if you didn't like it, you were stupid.
Yeah, I do remember that.
That was probably the king.
Yeah, not Gilliam's best moment.
Have you seen anything good lately?
Have I seen anything good lately? I watched a documentary about William Friedkin.
Oh, wow. I would like to see that.
Yeah, so I've been working on my William Friedkin impression. The two most interesting people in history are Jesus Christ and Hitler. That's the very first thing you hear in the documentary. It's okay. It's fun to walk through all of his movies, and he has a lot of Wes Anderson's on there, Tarantino's on there, William Peterson, and Willem Dafoe.
I don't know if it can compete with Stallone Frank. That is the documentary that's out on Amazon Prime about Frank Stallone.
Oh man, did you see that?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Damn,
it's high budget too. I'm in earnest about that part. So one thing I saw though, I always check the last chance list of movies that are leaving like Criterion Collection and HBO Max. They're really nice and tell you what's leaving their streaming service at the end of the month. And it led me to watch the movie The Hurricane starring Denzel Washington. Have you ever seen this?
I don't think I ever watched it all.
It's not really about a hurricane. It's about a man. And I was thinking it would have been a better movie if Reuben Carter really murdered the people. And maybe they should have taken a page from Denzel Washington's vastly superior Malcolm X movie, which actually is about Malcolm X, and lean into exaggerating the hero's criminal past.
Yeah.
Also, if you ever get dragged into a karaoke bar and you want revenge on the world, you should choose the song The Hurricane by Bob Dylan, which is also not about a literal hurricane, but it is literally like 8 minutes long. It has endless lyrics, and at some point randomly shouts out the N-word with a very hard R.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really annoy people at the bar. But also it's a story song that starts in a bar. So you can point people out in the bar and places in the bars they're mentioned in the song like a real showman before people get wise to your terrible no end game.
It's in Dazed and Confused in the foosball.
That was the first time I heard the song. It's not a radio. It wasn't a radio song growing up. It wasn't on classic rock radio in Oklahoma, at least.
Yeah, I remember it had a revival when the movie was out.
Yes, after the movie. By the way, early Oscar pick, book it when you can start gambling on this. Denzel Washington will win Best Actor in 2022 for the year 2021 at the Oscars.
For what?
For Joel Coen's William Shakespeare's Macbeth.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I forgot all about that. So that's coming out.
At some point this year, yes.
Wild. I'm excited for that.
That's the movie I think I'm looking forward to the most this year.
Do you think the Rebels of P.T. 218 will have any nominations?
Maybe. Best visual effects by our man Glenn Campbell.
Yeah, I saw Glenn Campbell was back, the Wichita lineman.
Did you see how vast of a career Glenn Campbell has had?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I knew.
I guess he goes way back in photo compositing. He's worked in photo compositing effects and visual effects on some big movies. It seems like the smaller the production, the more responsibility he is given. But
Glenn Campbell was one of the advisors on Sorcerer. Yeah, the Wichita lineman is back here. So I wonder if anyone from Ape versus Predator is running around behind the scenes in this one.
well, Glenn Campbell, of course, but probably some others. I'm not sure. It's not the same director.
No, this was a low budget war film. The guy that directed it, Nick, what's his name?
Nick Lyon.
Lyon. It seems like he's made a couple other of these low budget war films.
I watched his 2018 epic D-Day, Invasion of Omaha Beach, starring Randy Couture and who's the other guy? Some other pro wrestling guy, Chuck Liddell. And then it had some, I think a few cast members and crew members from this film worked on it as well.
Says that he directed a TV movie called Rent an Elf. You said there's Operation
D-Day
Dunkirk.
was the one
Operation
watched.
Dunkirk was a video, so I wonder what that's all about. But yeah, a couple war things in his resume here, and I got to tell you, he does a pretty good job with what he's got.
This movie was definitely conceived. Somebody watched that Greyhound movie with Tom Hanks, and we were like, "Oh, we can do that cheap."
Yeah, it's made by film literate people
at Asylum Pictures.
So it's about a patrol torpedo boat, and that's what the PT stands for, right? Patrol torpedo.
I learned that. I did not know that.
And this boat,
we're in a war, sailor. Go man your 4-incher, or I'll throw you in the drink. You'll be keelhauled to slumber in Davy Jones' locker tonight, my friend.
This film from 2021 tells the story of a World War II vessel called the Lawton B. Evans.
Which I like how the movie gets right to the stock footage right away, just like Ape versus Monster. Did you look up who Lawton B. Evans was?
I think I just read that he was like a steam merchant.
I believe he was also a writer, and he has a lot of books that he seemed like he wrote compilations of older other people's stories.
Oh, I was reading the description of the boat, not of the man. So he was a writer.
Yes.
I'd never heard of him.
Yeah, I think he was bigger. He would publish sort of compendium on things. He wrote a lot of pro-American things. He wrote things on like patriots, bios for patriots.
It'd be pretty funny if he wrote this film. His great-great-great-grandson.
Well, did you see who did write this film? Was a man named George Clymer. Do you know anything about George Clymer?
Well, I'm looking at his credits right here, and I only see one credit for this film. Did you find something else on this person? Roy, did you make an Agresta connection?
Well, George Clymer may in fact be David Argesta. What I learned about George Clymer is that he was a famous abolitionist, and the USS George Clymer was named in his honor. He's a founding father of the United States and died January 23rd, 1813. Just lived long enough to see that White House burn. Which leads me to believe that you are correct. George Clymer is in fact David Argesta.
More like George Social Clymer. So this story is about a crew of men who, there is a distinction. They are not Navy guys.
They're in the Merchant Marine.
They're Merchant Marine boys. And they are, the story begins with them mounting an attack off of the coast of Italy.
With some narration. Who was the narrator?
I don't know. I thought maybe
it was B. Evans.
I thought maybe the narrator was William Baldwin.
See, I think it's Jeff Mead, but William Baldwin was the first person I guessed. Then eventually I was like, maybe it's that Jeff Mead guy. I don't know.
So we start off the story with a bang. There's the PT boat attacks an enemy vessel.
Jeff Mead from D-Day.
So they have torpedoes of their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
they are a gunship.
So they nail this enemy vessel with torpedoes, and then they have big machine guns. So they're hitting it with machine guns. And somewhere in this conflict, we meet Lieutenant Bill Snow.
Yes.
Played by Eric Roberts, who is the lead credit in this film.
Absolutely. And the lead performance in the film as well. Though it's kind of an ensemble movie.
He also provided his period-specific Ray-Ban logo glasses.
And some immediate mush mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Sadly, and once again, I believe he's performing as George Burns. I was thinking, where's Gracie Allen here? Can they get him a hat that fits? He's looking like Raul Julia in Street Fighter.
Oh, yeah. I have a note here that says stroke mouth to the max.
Hey, it's me talking crusty.
But yeah. He's very good in this film at holding the binoculars. He does that a lot. And I think he's doing that the first time we see him here. As he's peering through the binoculars and hard right. So he's barking orders. We have some good fog and shadow CGI. Like,
yeah, Glenn Campbell, I don't know. I didn't look as much into how he did the effects for this and how cheap they really were. But I gotta say, if we were kind of impressed by the, I don't know, this looked pretty cool. You could never, this would have been an awesome looking movie, like for a schlock movie, for any movie back in its day with these laser shots of the bullets and shit.
Yeah, they did well with what they were given. And
yeah, it doesn't look real, but it looks better than an old movie.
Well, they trick it a lot with a lot of tight shots of faces and the
Oh
interior
yeah, for the
spaces.
interiors. Yeah, they're definitely back in the cheap Michael Mann territory of Ape versus Monster.
Yeah, and they do a good job of it. I got to give a big shout out to Mr. Campbell here. He's really riding out on a horse in a Star Spangled Rodeo in this film, and we meet we meet the.
I was experiencing some future schlock.
How do you pronounce ensign or
ensign? That's how I say it.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
how
They're
Robert
filled with
it.
crazy boat words. Don't make any sense. Like that word bosun.
Yes,
it's like boatswain.
Yeah, you get a lot of that in this. I haven't heard ensign in too much in movies, but I haven't seen a lot. I don't watch
like something
a lot
that got in your Star Trek.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of military films. So
was Wesley Crusher an ensign played by Will Wheaton?
I mean, it's basically like a first captain, first mate. I don't know. We don't want to.
That would be number one.
Well, would you say this guy? Would you say this actor is Roberts' number one guy?
Which character was he?
He was Jeff
Ensign
Meade.
Ford. Yeah, Jeff Meade. Yes, absolutely. He's the right hand man. Roberts.
Kenneth Ford looking kind of like an overcooked hot dog.
yeah, but not as much like an overcooked hot dog as he did in D-Day. He looked even crazier.
Yeah. If you left Josh Brolin in the microwave for too long, you'd end up with a Jeff Meade. So he's the ensign. Make sure I get that right. And he's pretty loyal to Lieutenant Bill Snow to a degree.
Yes,
we see that taking shape here in this first section of the movie. Their boat takes a direct hit. I think it's the ensign here who says, "This is not a destroyer, Bill. We got to run around." And Roberts, his character doesn't like to back down, and we're going to learn why. But in this scene he does. He concedes, and they have to retreat in a boat that's been hit and is damaged. They take one directly. Remember, like right in the center of comes from up. It's like a bomb or a missile that comes from up high, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah,
but I do remember
it hits them like directly in the center from up top. And the next day, everyone's cleaning up, and this is kind of when we get to meet the soldiers, when we get the serviceable military dialogue of stuff like, "We got to get this cleaned up 10 minutes ago, girls. Come on, ladies." There's a lot of that in this.
We meet a whole crew of guys here. And also, I would say overall the acting and stuff, this is a more professional movie than Ape versus Monster, which itself seemed kind of except for a lot of the acting, for a schlock movie.
Yeah, it seems like the people were maybe a little more, the performances were more inspired in this.
A lot of the people are more experienced in this.
Yeah,
there are a lot of actors in this who've been around a long time and have been in other things, have been around a long time.
So we cut to Allied headquarters in Sicily, and this is part of what's called Operation Avalanche.
Yes.
And so Roberts is on his walkie, or it's like a CB radio. He's on the radio.
What would Operation Avalanche be without a little snow?
I like it. They didn't say it in that, did they?
I don't think so.
Damn, they should have. You should have made a pass on the script.
When they're in that firefight at the beginning, we may not even be there, but at 5:35, did your version of the movie had some weird audio problems?
I don't remember.
I was wondering if they watch this could look out for that, see if theirs did. Mine did.
Yeah, I don't remember anything weird at this point of the story.
Yeah, one of the guys we meet on the boat is Creveler, who I said was played by Aaron All Right Man.
Alt Right Man. Man?
All Right Man.
Oh,
He's
I
not that
misheard you.
great. What is Creveler? Clevenger.
How
It's the
about
guy that
Noah
looks like
Blake?
it's Daniel Johnstone as Aaron All Right Man. I'm sorry, the character who was Aaron All Right Man was Seaman Bauer, who I saw playing a military guy in the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, starring Keanu Reeves.
Snow is on the radio with his commanding officer, which is this guy, Commander Barnes.
But sir, she grew up with that Nazi.
Yeah, I get that now. I didn't get it when you sent me that joke. Roy sends me all of his jokes before we start, so that way we can
You know when to laugh.
yeah, so that way I can be primed with that. That was a head scratcher, but now I'm realizing it was a callback to Ape versus Monster.
Yes.
So we have Noah Blake as this guy, and his superior is none other than William Baldwin
This is great.
as the general,
Oh, and yeah, like
trying to sell you some insurance.
Billy Baldwin giving you the full Billy Baldwin experience, which is 90% of the Alec Baldwin experience.
Now, Roy, if you were to meet William Baldwin in the flesh and you were in that moment bereft of insurance, auto insurance, and he tried to sell you on it, do you think he could convince you?
I don't know, but that reminds me, I have met Billy Baldwin in the flesh several times.
Nice.
I used to work at the bar of a restaurant where he and his wife, China Phillips of Wilson Phillips, the good-looking one.
Oh yeah, I didn't know they were married.
They would come in with their kids and a bunch of other kids, and they'd get like a couple of tables in the restaurant and feed all the kids. And Billy Baldwin and China Phillips would watch the kids, and Billy Baldwin would just roam the restaurant, sipping on a Corona on his cell phone and lean against things all over the place, and just never really sit down. It was really funny. He'd walk outside, he'd just pace the place and talk to his agent or somebody all the time. And then one time I was not at work. It was Thanksgiving Day, and I was going to go pick up my pies I ordered to take to Thanksgiving dinner. And who should be in line behind me but Billy Baldwin and China Phillips? And I got my pies and I left, and one of my pies was wrong. And I think I may have gotten one of their pies, and they got one of mine. But I do like that they had to get an actor who would have the gravitas to really inspire the respect of Eric Roberts, and they got their man.
So did you ever serve them directly?
Oh, I don't think so. I think I might have gotten Billy Baldwin a beer and said what's up to him or something a couple of times. But he's always like distracted.
I wonder if China Phillips is a good. I wonder if she's impatient in restaurants when she orders.
It's an interesting question.
It'd be nice if you were
There's
serving
got to be
her.
some up, all those kids around. Like
If she's
like,
asking, where's I had an extra side of ranch or whatever, you could say, ma'am, I'm gonna need you to just hold on for one more day.
I love that song. And they honestly seemed really nice. They did not seem like jerks at all. I don't want to paint that picture. Billy Baldwin I did find hilariously distracted. Just thinking, just leaning on all the walls and things was always so just strange to me at a restaurant to do that.
So we have General Wall Leaner here.
Yeah, rate your Baldwin brothers.
It's gonna have to be Master Baldwin #1, and then Steven, and then
Oh wow,
Billy. Who's the other one?
Daniel.
Oh, Daniel Baldwin. He's the more heavy set Baldwin, right?
Yes, he's my #2. I like Daniel Baldwin. I think he's like a good alternative if you can't find a guy that looks like he's on the nearing a heart attack from doing too much blow and eating too much, and you can't hire Tom Sizemore.
He's
Baldwin
probably
is a great choice.
Yeah, as far as like acting, you probably are right there. But as far as like icon value, I would put Steven at #2 just because
He looks different.
it just is because of his crazy career of playing
and then his daughters become famous, kind of like Roberts's, huh?
He was a born again Christian for a long time. You would see him on the 700 Club and stuff.
Yes, I think that one of our friends has a story about seeing him at Sundance Film Festival, maybe promoting one of his Christian films and just being really hammered or something.
Oh man,
that in itself is a story that's probably a decade old at this point.
All right, so back to the plot. Bill Snow, played by Eric Roberts, he takes responsibility for the PT boat's defeat the previous night.
I take full responsibility for my actions, sir.
And they also bring up
and he has great hair. He looks like $1 trillion.
Roberts?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little hair product goes a long way.
He looks good.
Because it seems like the recent ones we watched, Night Walk, and
he had shaggier hair.
Shaggier, more disheveled.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just a little slickum does a good job here.
He's got a little tighter haircut here. Not quite navy short, but maybe merchant marine.
Yeah. The slicker the hair, the slacker the jaw, I feel.
Mm.
With the performance, I mean. And so they talk about another defeat that has really wounded Bill Snow's character, Bill Snow. And it's some kind of, do you remember the specifics? I think a thousand lives were at risk, right?
Yeah, something happened
A lot of
and
men
he
died.
and it doesn't matter because snow never existed. So this is a made up thing anyway. I would have paid. I looked up what really happened with PT-218,
The
and
Evans boat was real, right?
yes, Lawton B. Evans and PT-218. We'll get to it later, but who cares what his bullshit reason is for needing to be so aggressive because he wasn't real.
Yeah. Okay. So we don't have to get into it. So then we could really end the episode right here. So William Baldwin, the infamous wall leaner, he tells Bill Snow that they want to stick it to Mussolini and invade Salerno, Italy. So he wants the Lawton B. Evans to take out the gunboats in this sector as the Allies prepare to invade Europe. He tells Snow he has 36 hours to knock out the enemy vessels before daybreak, which he actually says. And I had a note here that said that's a hell of a long night. Snow accepts this mission. And they also mention that the men, I think they mention here, the men have a lot of heart on this boat, but they're not combat ready.
No.
Which I didn't feel that from the scenes where they're fighting. Seemed like they knew what they were doing. Hard to communicate that. The next big name that we meet is Danny Trejo.
You think his hair was Navy or Merchant Marine regulation?
Yeah, he's got a nice ponytail.
Really long one.
Yeah, and some of his scary tattoos are showing on his arm.
He's the ship's cook.
Yes, his name is Cookie Orozco. Forget his full name, but
Yeah, and this is getting some of the this is a reuniting. I don't know how recently we've seen a movie where Trejo and Roberts were back together, but they're buds, right?
yeah,
They go back all the way to Runaway Train.
they have a few sweet moments in this one too.
Yes, you can tell they have chemistry when they get together. That was the first thing I wondered when Trejo showed up. I was like, oh yeah, I wonder if they get a scene together or if they're just going to be in different parts of this no budget movie, like wandering, on what days they were available.
I bet they were psyched. I bet Trejo's like, Roberts.
Yes,
Been a long
Trejo's
time.
like the classic gives everybody shit cook. He's the, from every Western or military movie ever, stock cook character. He is Mexican American. He fought in World War One, as I believe did Roberts, and he would have been probably like 50 in World War One or 45. Now Danny Trejo's the cook, and he's like 70.
Yeah.
He tells the guy chorizo is better than bacon. No offense, but chorizo is not better than bacon.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to knock it, but it's not better than bacon.
No, they're so different. You can't really compare them. So the ensign, is that how we decided to say it?
I call it ensign.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The incel. So the incel guy,
Elliot Snow,
he gets hooked up with a Cookie hooks him up with a nice big bottle of booze that he
friend of
gives
the
him.
pod, Elliot Rogers.
Yeah. So Ford, he mentions Trejo's mustache, and he says, "When are you going to shave that mustache?" Cookie says, "When Hitler shaves his." So we have some nice, high quality, Oscar worthy banter, and then we see the boys in the. Would you call it the barracks?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
The soldiers' quarters, wherever the bunks are, and they're playing chess. And chess has like a big chess motif in this film.
Mm-hmm. We come back them playing chess. There's like a really buff guy. He's gotten a lot of credits in recent years as a buff guy.
And we meet this.
He plays against a nerdy guy in chess.
Yeah, and the nerdy guy, his name is Moose.
And he's really dumb at chess. By the way, he's really bad.
He is dumb. He's dumb as a moose when it comes to playing chess.
This is a World War II story funnier than George Clooney's Catch-22.
Yeah, did you watch all of that?
Yes, it was terrible.
Wow, you were a big fan of the book.
I like it, and I mean I love it. Yeah, and I like Mike Nichols's old movie. It's not a great, if you've never read the book, I think it might be kind of a head scratcher. But if you have, one of those things where you're going to be disappointed in that it doesn't do as much of the book as you'd like or anything, and leaves so much out. It is kind of disappointing. But what it does do, it does a good job of. Unlike the George Clooney book, it's just terrible.
Man, yeah, I just had no desire to see it. I'm not a huge fan of that guy that he cast as the lead guy. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's in Girls.
Yes. I haven't seen that. I saw that movie. We both have seen it by David Cronenberg's son.
Possessor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like
he's
that.
okay in that.
He's on. I started watching a show called Sinner or something like that with Bill Pullman, where every season it seems like he investigates a different crazy crime. And I watched like 4 or 5 or 6 episodes of season 1 before I was just like, oh wait, this is pure shit. It started
Hours
off kind of
upon
hooking me.
hours
Well,
upon
it
hours.
started off hooking me, and then I was like, oh man, this is like gonna be a total just combination of other shows. I want to be True Detective,
He
Twin
gave it a
Peaks.
shot, at least, Roy.
Yes.
He watched 50 hours of it.
Yeah. Probably watched like 4 or 5 hours of it. I realized, oh wait, this is going somewhere terrible.
Ensign Ford is back on the phone with Commander Barnes, and there's a lot of talking back and forth on the radio scenes. They're kind of my least favorite in this because they're all always the same. It's always like in this scene, it's the same as everyone that follows. It's basically the commander saying, "You got to keep an eye on Snow." He says he doesn't want him to jump out of his boots at first sight of combat.
Mm-hmm.
And I have here, this is where they discuss that the men aren't fully trained. So that's a
Yeah.
concern that the other guys have. So this bottle of booze reappears, and in the next scene, Snow and his ensign hanging out. And this is where we find out a little bit more about why Snow is so traumatized.
It's also
He locked.
finally where we know what it's like to be locked in a room with the senile Eric Roberts.
Yeah, so he says that he abandoned his convoy in that attack, and he says, "I lost my buddy." So there's some buddy that he lost along the way. Maybe it was his former ensign. I don't
One
know.
genius thing about this, about doing a schlock movie on a boat, if you can get a good boat to do one and do it like this, is that, as we know from Jaws and stuff, you don't use tripods when you shoot on the water because it will make everybody seasick. So you just all of a sudden have this excuse to shoot the whole movie handheld.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was reading. There's that big Wes Anderson coffee table book.
Oh, by Matt Solar Zeitz.
Maybe so. I work with a guy who's a big library visitor, and he checked it out from the library. So it's been in the break room at my job. I've been reading it on breaks, and they were talking about Wes Anderson's famous boat movie, Life Aquatic, and how that's a movie of his that has the most handheld camera in it because, like you said, it's totally motivated, and you can
just
get
makes
away
people
with it.
seasick if there's a tripod shots on a boat because the boat rocks.
I did feel a lot in this one. Wherever this boat is that they're shooting on is definitely just like anchored somewhere in a
Oh yes.
because the angles are always so they're trying to point the camera up directly at the sky to try to not get the McDonald's
oh, yeah.
over.
No, you never feel like the boat is moving.
No, you never do.
Except for you do feel maybe it's rocking in a harbor.
I was even trying to listen very closely to like sound, like sea sounds, to the sound mix. And I guess there's some there. I think a lot of that is just your imagination. Like, oh, they must be floating, sailing around somewhere. Surely there's the sound of calling of gulls and the lapping of waves against the side of the boat. But I didn't really hear too much of that. Surely, I mean, somebody's job was to put that into this movie. Maybe that overpowering score was kind of burying those sounds. There's some
Shane Prather.
Prather,
probably.
So here, where are we? So yeah, we're back in Snow's office where he's talking to his guy, and they're talking about making their way to Salerno. And right in the middle of this conversation, some kind of alarm goes off that there's a U-boat in the area. So we have this big U-boat action sequence. A U-boat is a submarine for those younger listeners who have never seen the film Das Boot. Roy, have you ever seen Das Boot?
I have seen the movie Das Boot.
Pretty intense. They eat a lot of limes down there, fight off the scurvy.
They don't eat any limes in that.
No, I guess that was something.
Not in the budget.
I guess it was something that went away at some point. There was some kind of, I don't know, vitamin in their food source that they were taking on board. Maybe in those sea rations. I don't know. Maybe the good cook.
Wasn't it like a lack of vitamin C or something?
It has to do with vitamin C. Maybe Orozco is whipping up some vitamin C omelets for the boys, keeping them healthy. Some lemon omelets. So we have this action sequence here, which is it at night? I don't remember now.
There's a pretty kick-ass at night action scene, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like it's at night. This one's pretty crazy with the U-boat dipping under and coming up and stuff, and they're trying to hit it with machine guns, and they lose a man in this fight.
And it is perhaps felt that Roberts jumped out of his boots for a sign of combat.
I thought he leaned a little bit too much into it.
That's what they were saying, though. I thought maybe that he would just get so excited.
Oh, I thought they were saying that he was going to retreat again.
Scared. Oh, maybe they were. I felt like maybe they were worried that he was going to be too gung ho or something and get everybody in trouble. But you're right. Perhaps you may be right here.
I kind of got a feeling throughout the whole thing that Baldwin and the other guy were trying to kind of like psychologically manipulate Snow's character.
Oh,
They're
not to
like,
have a yellow streak.
yeah, they're like, he's gonna want to
Ah,
redeem himself. So let's mess with him. Let's good cop, bad cop him, and like psych him out.
you're right. You're right.
But I don't know. Do you think the writers really thought of that, or is
Maybe
that like the sounds, the ocean sounds that our imagination is
Dave
providing?
Argusta is an accomplished writer,
Social climber.
novelist.
So it says here the men man the guns. They find the U-boat, and in this sequence, Lieutenant Snow keeps wanting to get closer, and Ford, the ensign, is against it. But they do succeed. They fire on the U-boat and they sink it. I think after a torpedo hits their boat, so they sustain some pretty heavy damage. But one thing that this movie, I guess I might as well just spoil it. You don't get any water play in this film. Like,
No,
there's no
you're right.
sinking that happens, or there's no, yeah, they
No,
don't take on any water,
no,
but they
you're
get
right.
nailed by a torpedo.
Yes, yes, you're right. There isn't any bailing or anything.
There's some kind of releasing of depth charges I have here.
Remember, there's that part when we're meeting the soldiers, and the guy says something about, "Hey, I guess we are going to go all the way to Italy." It's like, you don't write a that's not how depth charges work. So, like, sailor or something like that. It's really weird. Did the
Or
guy think he was going to write a depth charge to Italy? I was really confused.
how about the engineer character? We didn't really talk about him.
Oh,
He's
Redeker?
sure this guy was pretty crazy.
Yes. Did you his first credit? He's come a long way. His first credit was as an angel on the Andy Dick show.
Yeah, he looks like an angel.
Yes.
He looks like a dude that would have been in the background in Night Walk, one of the convict dudes.
Just look like he's on work release in the movie or something.
He's pretty intense. But he has some kind of a bond with one of the younger soldiers, which is pretty creepy.
Isn't it a bond with our buddy Aaron Allright, man, Seaman Bauer?
Maybe so. A lot of those guys are kind of interchangeable to me, besides
There
the
we get a
nerdy
lot
one.
of like guys, fresh-faced young men, as you would in the military. And they
Yeah.
kind of are distinguishable. I'd say that they're almost more distinguishable in this than they are in some movies where you get confused. But they are pretty in and out. You don't care about any of them. At least I didn't care about anybody.
You got your blonde. There's a blonde guy. There's some more Italian looking guys.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there's one of the guys, his name, they call him Irish.
Yes.
You got Bauer.
Bauer.
Let's just go through the names here real quick. You have Seaman Jeffries. You have Irish. You have Rich Snyder, Moose Johnson, Grosvenor.
Yes, Grosvenor. He meets an ignominious end, I believe.
And that's just a few of the guys. I wonder how many guys were on the boat. I forget if they ever say.
It's a good question. I don't remember.
A couple thousand. I guess the PT boats are pretty small.
This one looks bigger. I watched, to me, when I think of PT boats, what do you think of?
I don't know. PT Barnum.
I think of PT 109, and I watched that movie. It's leaving HBO at the end of the month, and it's once again to our younger listeners or people that aren't that into history. PT 109 was a patrol torpedo boat that was commanded by John F. Kennedy in World War II and was sunk in the Pacific. And he and his men, they were holed up on an island and survived many patrols of the Japanese, and then went back on a rescue mission to get other dudes and shit. Pretty cool story. He is
Cliff
a war
Robertson.
hero. Yeah, not a great movie. Some of the action was kind of cool. It had somewhat of a budget, but it's a pretty stiff movie. It was released months before he was assassinated. Not Cliff Robertson, but John F. Kennedy.
Months before? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like it came out in 1963. So it was made during Kennedy's presidency. So it's a very Hollywood, one-sided, glowing, stiff movie. Kennedy going around encouraging everyone and getting good results, and then everybody wondering about it because he's rich, and then he keeps just proving his way.
The Camelot of PT 109.
Yeah, so it was a very Camelot PT 109. But that said,
oh my PT 109. You like that song, that David Bowie song?
Oh yes.
Uh-oh, PT 109. Well, let's get back to this plot here.
Okay, but I guess you're right. What I was going to say, though, is we need to get back to my point was that John F. Kennedy's PT 109 in the movie PT 109 was much smaller than the boat that seemed to be on the this. It was like a little boat.
I mean, they talk about it in the film as being like a small, vulnerable.
This is like a pleasure boat or something in it, right?
I mean, for the men on board, I think it was a pleasure boat, wouldn't you say?
I think the Lawton B. Evans they said was a pleasure boat.
I think that mechanic that was down under there.
Probably lost a few men down in there with him.
Yeah, the old engine room Ernie, they call him.
The Demeter.
Yeah, it's a pleasure boat for him, and maybe for old Cookie Orozco as well.
Yes.
So we talked about Seaman Jeffries meeting an ignominious end. How did
I
you
was
say?
thinking, no, Grosvenor later on.
Well, definitely it's Jeffries who gets killed in
Killed
this
here. You're right.
U-boat scene. And so we have a funeral service of some kind with Lieutenant Snow speaking over an intercom and the men mourning. He says something like, he never stood down from his job as an American. I thought that was funny. His job was to be an American. It sounded weird to me somehow.
This guy. I thought he survived the movie as Jeffries. I guess not. Wow. He must look like another guy.
So we have some more bitching on the phone. The whole Commander Barnes loves to bitch.
Yes.
And he's all up in Ensign Ford's ear about Snow's recklessness. And he says, we're burying a man at sea because you're acting like you have something to prove.
Mm-hmm.
So they're angry. But are they manipulating him, Roy?
I don't know. So that's why I was confused, because I would think that the jumping out, him being so aggressive, him having something to prove cost them a man. I thought they were showing that, they were doing a more complicated portrait of leadership. I guess even having to manipulate a guy is a complicated portrait.
So in this area, they also find out from General Baldwin that Italy has dropped out of the war. So their primary enemy will be Nazis now. So they prepare for that. That seems like a little victory for them.
For the Allies in general, yeah.
And we have some fun and games in the mess hall with their guys are playing poker. Danny Trejo whips up some meatloaf for one of the soldiers, and he eats it, and it turns out to be really spicy. And so there's some fun and games there with Trejo saying, he says something like, "That's how we make it in Texas. Puts hair on your balls." Yeah.
Trejo was having a good time in this.
Yeah, he was giving it his all, trying to create a camaraderie. So this is where Trejo and Roberts have their scene. They're on the deck at night.
Yes.
And they're passing a flask between the two of them.
Trejo wonders why it's not tequila. And he's like, we can get tequila when we go to Acapulco.
Yeah. And this is where we learn that Cookie is a combat veteran.
Yes, when Cookie tells his story of the sinking of the USS Indianapolis. No, but Danny Trejo is truly the Robert Shaw of our time.
Yes. Yeah. And he swore that he wasn't going to fight anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just wants to cook the spicy meatloaf.
He's one of the only survivors of a big wreck.
So this is when we have the night battle. I'm thinking maybe now the U-boat battle maybe was a daytime one.
Did we get the guys at the chess game where the nerd guy wins the chess game when he didn't know how to move a knight against the guy that beats him every time, the buff guy?
It's somewhere in this.
That would be pretty unlikely. The guy wouldn't even know how to move his piece, and all of a sudden have a guy that beats him every time and checkmate.
Yeah, I've only played chess a little bit, but that did not seem realistic at all.
Somewhere in here also is where Robert says something about making $150 a week to get shot at on the high seas. So I was thinking, if you could pay Roberts $150 to get shot at on the high seas in the year of 1941, the inflation of how much it costs you to get him to read cue cards in 2021 in a room per minute, it's got to be probably $150 or more.
I lost my buddy on that in that mission. So this is the cool.
So this they spend a lot of their effects budget here. It seems like.
Yeah, they're taking fire. They pass this big enemy boat, and
when they pass each other, and neither of them hit each other. That's the most crazy you've ever seen. How neither of them sustain any damage, and they pass right by each other, firing constantly.
Yeah, and the guy that you think does take damage is limping out of there, and they take him down.
And it turns out he got shot in the pocket or something, or in the boot.
He got hit in the boot. That must have been. I'm sure that was probably someone's grandfather's story. And we took him down there, and it turned out it was just in his boot the whole time. And so they were like, we got to include the boot story, but it just it didn't do much for me, Roy. I'll tell you that.
No.
If an old man was telling me that story on a bench outside of a barber shop, then maybe.
Hell, when I was listening to that story, I wasn't sure the Nazis didn't win the war.
Well, someone does get wounded massively in this conflict here, and it's our friend the Angel Mechanic.
Yes, there's some weird thing about how he always has sixes. He tells Aaron, all right, man, they'll never get the aces.
Yeah. Is that the mechanic who's always
I
talking about
believe it's that. It's really confusing because it's fucking crazy. I'll just say that it is crazy. I think it's later on where the mechanic dies actually, but it was really confusing here because it feels like the guy that he's down there hanging out with isn't the guy who has a big moment with here. There's a weird mix of guys who have big moments with them that in real life, I guess you'd know lots of people on the ship, but in the movie it's very confusing as to which characters have bonds and stuff.
Yeah, it would be more intimate if it was the same guy from the scene before.
Yeah,
when they're in the scene when they were making love down there by the
so
engines.
it's confusing.
I do have here that the mechanic is wounded in this sequence, and he does die
later.
He dies in the scene. He dies here.
Oh, you're right.
I think the cards is a different guy, actually. I do know the card thing happens at the end, and I think it's between two soldiers talking about poker.
Wait, maybe the mechanic tells the guy who dies later he'll never get the aces.
That
or
could
something.
be it.
Maybe there's some kind of craziness here, but I think you are correct. This is where
the listeners will correct us.
Redeker dies.
This is the ultimate audience participation podcast because we purposely are guiding you in the same way that General Baldwin and his commander are subtly psychologically manipulating Eric Roberts' character into winning this war. We're doing this with the listeners, having them
I guess this is where they have their big party where they when does he talk about them eating the cake and soda?
You'll need to take out the first gun. Then, what's most important is these men south of it in this foxhole. After killing these men as quietly and quickly as possible, you can then proceed to destroy the last gun before returning to the ship for cake and soda. Any questions?
No, sir. On behalf of the men, I'd say that's the craziest plan I've ever heard.
He's right.
I don't remember.
Do you remember that?
Probably.
I think it's right after this.
Yeah, because they're pretty. I don't remember the mood of the crew after this battle.
After the death of Redeker, they're all happier.
After the mechanic dies, they're like, "We're free."
There's some part that were right after this night
like
battle,
Stromboli from Pinocchio.
They're all down there. Maybe it's when Roberts gets their next mission and he plots the course of their commando thing at the end for the big climax, and he tells everybody, he's like, then we'll be back here for cake and soda, and everybody's all excited.
Yeah, there is some revelry that happens somewhere, or revelry rather.
Yeah.
And then there's a speech here that I have where Snow addresses the crew and he explains.
I think it's at the end of this speech.
The boat took on so much damage that they're going to have to abort their mission because they have just enough fuel to almost get to the beach where they're going. But then it's actually the guys who remotivate Captain, right? I think they all kind of collectively get motivated to continue. Like, let's give it our all and let's try and do it. We're gonna do it.
Then maybe he tells them they'll get cake and soda.
And it is General Baldwin and Commander Barnes who once again on the radio telling them that they have to abort this mission, and Robert saying no. This is kind of some real Navy SEALs action here because there's some foot action. Yeah, they're gonna. I know that they're gonna take.
They go up on a beach.
Big German guns that are mounted up on the beach, and some of the guys, including Kenneth Ford, they get on a smaller boat and they infiltrate enemy lines, and they kind of flank around this big gun that's being manned by a bunch of German soldiers. They knife one of the guys and slit his throat.
Over there in Zuma or something.
Oh, yeah. I also wanted to say that.
And then we had the guys playing the Germans who are all German guys trying to make it in Hollywood.
Really?
I think they're all actual Germans.
I thought the German speaking was pretty genuine, was pretty authentic.
I think it's all real. Yeah. I think they got him some German dudes.
There's a fun scene of Ford chucking some grenades into the German guys and blowing them up. That was cool. And this is right around this time is when our guys are on the beach and they're trying to take down some of these guns. And this is when the planes start to show up and rain fire on all these guys.
Yeah, we get that plane interior shot zooming down. I was thinking that you get no interior shots of planes in this movie, but then there was one. You get one through the windshield.
The daytime plane flying stuff is kind of hard.
She was pretty silly.
Glenn Campbell's probably biggest challenge challenge of this film.
Oh yeah, I guess effects are easier at night.
I actually do want to
That's what
call
they
out
say.
Campbell on one thing that pissed me off that he needs to improve next time around. They must have had no budget for squibs in this movie.
Oh.
Anytime anyone got shot, it was always some guy looking down and being like, Jeffries! And the guy's already been nailed.
Well, they would have probably done CG spray anyway, but I think maybe they were going for less of they didn't want it to be rated R or something, like a kids movie. I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind of a family film in a way.
There's not much cursing.
No, but damn it, I wanted some squibs.
When Jeff Mead shoots that thing and the guy's like yells at him about the success, he has the line, "That was 1 in a million, Captain." And then he's like maybe supposed to look at where the plane's going down and be like, "Are you happy now, asshole?" But instead he just keeps looking at Mead and says, "That was 1 in a million, Captain. Are you happy now, asshole?"
Yeah, I guess they shied away from squibs to keep the family rating here, but they weren't
wouldn't
afraid
have
to
paid
show
for squibs anyway, man. Let's face it. Even if they would have done blood, they would have gone cheaper than squibs.
Well, they could have at least gone for the horrible Chappelle Show CGI.
That's what they would have done.
When's the last time you saw really good squibs?
Shoot, I don't know when I'm looking at CG anymore if it's a good movie, so I might just think they're squibs when I see things, but there's good like shoot 'em up stuff in recent movies, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. I haven't seen many of them.
A lot of violence in The Irishman, and there's some good shooting in what was the one, All the Money in the World, the Ridley Scott movie from a few years back.
There's some insane squibs in The Hateful Eight. Of course, any Tarantino, when someone gets shot, just blood explodes.
Yeah,
out
true. I mean, yes, Hateful Eight, of course. Yeah. What about Black Hat? Had some crazy gun violence.
Yeah. How about the film Night Walk? Remember that one?
Yeah.
So this is like the big final mission of the film. Stuff happens. Do you remember anything else from?
I remember
from this?
Grosvenor gets shot, and the guy holding him seems like he at the end is wondering when the cut will be called so he can quit acting.
Yes. So there's probably 3 or 4 scenes in this movie of soldiers who have bonded, who are holding each other.
Yeah, there is one big thing that happens in this final battle is that the pacifist Cookie Orozco, he jumps on a gun, starts blasting some Nazi bastards, and then rip off the Thin Red Line movie and have him get shot in the butt.
Yes.
And
he says something like, "Why did I have to get shot in the butt? It's so pretty." He cracks a few weird butt jokes. Roberts also pulls out a handgun and is firing a handgun into the airplanes in the sky.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Do you remember earlier when Mead, like there's one guy on the boat who likes to fish, and Mead is always yelling at him about fishing, and there's a part where the guy has a fish on the line, and Mead comes and takes the guy's fishing rod. He's like, I'll help you reel it in, and just throws the fishing rod with the fish on the line off the boat.
Yeah.
And they debate about like how it's about it a bunch.
The dude actually has a fish on. He's like trying to reel in a massive fish.
And he's like, "Oh yeah," and he has to go do his job. He's like, "Well, can you hold this for me?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And he just throws it. Yeah,
that's probably the best joke in the whole movie.
It is. I thought we should bring it up.
Yeah,
I did like that. I wrote it down in the wrong place. I wrote "fishing dude." Haha.
Yeah, I have a note about the pole because the pole thing comes back as well.
But at any rate, they kick the Nazis' ass here, and
they win.
Dies, and
they win the war.
Trejo gets shot in the ass. And then when they carry Trejo away on the stretcher, he's literally not only laughing his way to the bank, but being carried to the bank laughing. He really took the money in this and was just like, hee, I'll show up and eat some craft services and shoot the shit with Eric Roberts, and thank you, sirs.
Maybe Trejo will be nominated for an Academy Award.
Man, I'll bet there's something in it for him.
Of course, you got to have, even after their success, you got to have General Baldwin reaming out Snow one last time. You took a lot of risks there, blah, blah, blah. But then he softens and he offers Snow a position commanding a cruiser in the Pacific.
Yes, well, first he softens and tells him, I don't know much. And when Billy Baldwin says, I don't know much, he's so convincing. But that was the bravest, craziest commando raid I've ever seen in my life. He really congratulates them hugely. Then he's like, but if you ever do that again, I'll have your ass in a sling. Do you understand me? Yes.
Someone should have, I guess no one ever told Billy Baldwin long enough to lean, long enough to clean.
Yeah, Billy Baldwin's helmet was second billing.
Oh, there is a good a good scene of Roberts in a military helmet that was hilarious with those Ray-Ban glasses on. Oh man, it's good. You can see the bifocal lenses in his glasses. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, those types of glasses, the thicker black frame glasses, I guess they really started to come around more in the late 40s and definitely in the 50s, but it would have been too early, I think, World War II. The Moose guy has some more like round framed, like lighter looking spectacles, and that looks way more era appropriate.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He definitely looked like he could have, like these guys, they were cast well. They all looked like they could be out of any basic training movie from World War II looking guys.
Yeah, when I
Yeah,
do a search for
and they
World
got
War
the
II
short
era
hair.
eyeglasses, oh, they got the hairstyles down just right.
The actors in the smaller roles, the crew guys, the young guys committed.
It looks like the GI style of the World War II era glasses were more round looking, more of like a Teddy Roosevelt. So sorry,
James
Roberts.
Joyce.
You got to try harder next time.
You know that Battle of Omaha D-Day movie by Nick Lyon? Do you know who the real lead actor was in it?
No.
It was Weston Cage Coppola, Nicolas Cage's son.
What's he like?
He's like a hefty Nicolas Cage with a mustache.
Yeah, I'm looking at him right now. He kind of looks like a street magician or something. Or more like a Vegas. Maybe he is. He has that look of like a Chris Angel type of guy.
Interesting.
I don't know. He looks pretty
Does
crazy.
seem like Nicolas Cage it would be into magic.
He looks like he was probably at Lollapalooza 2021. The movie starts wrapping up here. I have the note. The thing about the fishing pole is that the guy gives him a backup pole.
Yes, and I bought him a fishing pole. When?
Yeah, and he mentions it something. And he's like, I knew at some point there'd be some trouble with that fishing pole.
So
he
he planned to
planned it.
throw it away as a prank. That was kind of, I guess that's kind of cool.
I bet when he did it though, I bet he was bummed that there wasn't really an audience around in that scene.
Yeah,
like, damn it. I had it all planned. Everyone was gonna laugh at him.
Dude, Kenneth Ford is a classy dude. He probably like it was enough that the guy knew.
I do like Ford in the movie, actually.
And he has
Jeff,
a real World War II feel. Yeah,
oh yeah.
You can tell
Jeff
like
Meade.
he fits right in there.
Danny Trejo did not look like he was a guy that was around in the 1940s.
No.
Roberts did, except for the glasses.
Sure, why not? I still feel like even his hair might have been long, but his hair is short enough. Why not?
Yeah, maybe it could have been a little bit shorter. And this is where we see the two aces that's left on the dead friend's body with some really dramatic, sad music. And so the last thing we see is Lieutenant Bill Snow asking Ford if he wants to be his first captain in the Pacific, and he agrees. So there's definitely going to be a sequel.
Probably in like October 2021.
The sequel already came out.
Yeah, we missed it.
Came out before this one.
If we just stayed for the end credits to the end, we could have seen the sequel.
I'm looking at the poster art for this. It's pretty funny.
Couple of notes in the credits. Original key art and logo were by a man named Mike DeGrazia for a movie Disgracia. Pond 5 does the stock footage. You know, I like to watch the side movies. I watched another Billy Baldwin movie that I'd never seen before. Have you ever seen the movie Internal Affairs from 1990, starring Richard Gere, Andy Garcia, Billy Baldwin, and others?
Oh, probably just pieces of it. It's probably one of those cable jams that was always around. But no,
I thought it was fantastic.
Wow.
I thought it was one of the best. It may be off the top of my head, it's got to be the best Billy Baldwin movie I've seen, but it was one of the best Richard Gere movies. And it was written by, I forget whom, but it was directed by Mike Figgis. And Mike Figgis did many movies before and after. Well, only a few things before, but many after. But this was really good. It was kind of like a less maximalist Michael Mann movie with a lot of narrow lenses and stylish locations and clothes. And yeah, and it was a silly Hollywood, sexy crime thriller, psychological thriller, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastically entertaining. I recommend everybody out there should watch if you like a Hollywood R-rated, hard R Hollywood movies of that period. It was if final analysis was really good, it might be.
Yeah, I got a final analysis vibe from it.
It's a very Richard Gere movie. The best performance by an actor people love, who I kind of don't get sometimes why people love her so much, but I loved her in this a ton, was Laurie Metcalf.
Oh yeah, I love Laurie Metcalf.
She was like Oscar worthy in this. She
Yeah,
plays
she rules.
Richard Gere's. No, she plays Andy Garcia's partner in Internal Affairs.
So somewhere along the line, William Baldwin started being credited as Billy.
But now he's
really,
William again. Right?
you could say he really leaned into the Billy at some point. But I wonder, because his name is Billy on this poster here.
Oh.
His name is actually, I guess Roberts is centered in the poster. So the names go Billy Baldwin, Eric Roberts. Roberts's character does not have the glasses on in the poster. Pretty funny.
Oh, I thought we should maybe say what happened. The real Lawton B. Evans was a PT boat that in the Merchant Marines, and it was involved in the Battle of Anzio and did distinguish itself. A real guy did win a medal for his participation, but I cannot recall. It doesn't seem like it was that close to what happens in this movie, and the characters in this movie are all made up, I believe.
Oh.
Except for, of course, General Omar Bradley, as played by William Baldwin.
Roy, if I find out that guy getting shot in the boot story was completely fabricated, I don't know
That's what the guy got the medal for in real life. Yeah, it does seem like that PT-218 was heroic in real life.
Well, the guys in this story were very heroic.
Yes.
And this was a fine example of a geezer teaser.
Yes, it was. I'd have to say, based on what you told me about geezer teasers, this had to be one.
Yeah, I mean, so could you imagine a guy, mid to late 60s flipping through options, and he sees this graphic and he sees Eric Roberts, Billy Baldwin, and Danny Trejo on a graphic for a World War II movie. You think that's going to grab him?
I think most people are going to be grabbed by being a World War II movie. It's going to be that guy who's seen every World War II movie, and here's another one.
Yeah, and these kind of movies too, I feel like this is a movie made for somebody who just saw Dunkirk and is like thirsty for anything, I'm don't you think like there's a certain type of person who just wants to absorb?
Oh, I think that the military war genre has people that will watch just about anything in it. Just about every movie genre does. But I think the war history movie is big, especially with the geezers.
Yeah, I wish I would have read some of the user reviews, because on these kinds of movies, you're going to get those guys are going to come out.
Right now the Rebels of P.T. 218 sits at 6.5 rate out of 10 on IMDb. I was thinking that was a little high while I was watching the movie.
I'm looking at the top user review on the page. Have you looked at this?
No.
Well, this review gives it 1 star.
Ooh.
The title of the review is, in all caps, "A Total Disgrace." And the review is only 1 sentence long, and it says, "It's a total disgrace to the memory of those who lost their lives in World War II. Can't go lower than 1 star." Damn. It's from July 15th, 2021. So this guy
didn't care for the film.
No. So this guy's name is R. Ballum, RBALYM. And if you're listening out there, we're big fans. It seems like his most recently rated are a film Tasmanian Devil, which he awarded 1 star.
You didn't like it.
A movie called The Flood, which he awarded 6 stars.
Ooh.
Meteor Moon, 1 star.
So it's no longer just cheese.
And we were talking about a Tom Selleck series.
Oh yeah, the Jesse Stone movies.
Okay, so this is not that. This is a Tom Selleck it's called Monty Walsh. It's from 2014.
Yes. I'm familiar with the property. It's a remake of maybe from a kind of famous Western novel, but I can't recall. But it was an older film made, I believe, starring Lee Marvin.
So our friend R. Ballum awarded Monty Walsh 10 stars.
Yeah, I could see the Monty Walsh with Tom Selleck being a pretty good TV movie.
So I'll just read just a small portion of
and a geezer teaser of sorts, but maybe a geezer pleaser.
Yeah, it seems like this guy is our guy. R. Ballum is the geezer who gets teased.
Yeah.
So his review from Meteor Moon, the title of that is "Total Rubbish." And then Monty Walsh, The Best Western About True Cowboys. Not much I can say how good this movie is that hasn't been said. It is the best Western that I have ever seen. It is well
Wow.
thought out and scripted. It has everything that a Western should have: drama, humor, death, and sadness. This guy is fantastic.
Sounds good.
So I'm thinking what we need to do, Roy, is if we ever get sued by Eric Roberts and we have to change directions, I think we need to do the R. Ballum movie review podcast, and we'll just cover his movies.
So you're not saying that it needs to be called To Love a Celica?
He's only reviewed and rated 17 films, so
That's easy.
yeah, we could get squeeze a season out of that.
Oh yeah.
Closing thoughts on the Rebels of PT 218.
Oh golly, I'd like to apologize for picking it. That was a tough one to watch.
Although I liked it better than Ape versus Monster.
You're probably right. I mean, it has more value. I don't know. Tough call.
Well, there was a lot of Roberts in it.
Oh, speaking of Michael Mann, I've been rewatching Crime Story on YouTube, and the last 2 episodes, one featured Love, Cheat, and Steal's Richard Edson, and another one featured Final Analysis is Paul Gulifoyle.
I would say they should teach this film in film schools to people who maybe are going to end up on this path of trying to make low budget movies like this. It's you could learn a lot from it. This is the perfect example of shadows can be your cheapest prop and angles can be your best friend and all that kind of stuff.
This is an accomplished schlock movie.
Yeah, I gotta take my Ray-Bans off to old Nick Lyon.
At no point does it feel like a student film, except for maybe just the actors interacting is kind of bad, but yeah, they have that boat and they get a lot of good framing of interiors on that boat. They do as much with that as they can.
Yeah.
Like when they play chess and stuff in the barracks or whatever quarters, they'll get they'll use the door frame as a frame within a frame,
right,
to shoot into it.
Yeah, it's shot smart. So should we discuss the next choice?
It's your turn to choose.
When we first decided to embark on this, a dream of mine was always to talk about Saved by the Light.
Oh, I can't wait if that's the one you're choosing.
I think it's time. I'm in a Saved by the Light mindset. Been thinking about that kind of thing lately. So this is the true story of a guy. Well, we'll save it for the next episode.
Nice.
It's based on a true story. Everyone, you have your assignment.
Thank you. I can't wait. When you came up with the idea, this is a movie you asked me if I'd seen, and I said no, never even heard of it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun ride. It's gonna be enlightening. My final thoughts. What was the guy's name? R. Balaam. If you're out there and you happen to be listening to this because you're such a big fan of the Rebels of PT 218, reach out to us.
Yes, please.
We'd love to just have you on just for a quick chat, maybe as a guest. I don't know. That's up to you, Roy. That's your department.
No. He can take my chair anytime.
All right. Well, the ball's in his court. I'm not taking it any further. I want to be courted. I don't want to be the courter.
Okay. I'll court Balaam.
All right, guys.
I already courted Bale.
Take care out there. It's a perilous world.